Hi, I'm Jonathan. If you're getting comfortable with the editor and are ready for some advanced options, you're in the right place. I'm no designer and I can't code CSS, but with Candu's advanced options, I can build a great looking web page. Let's get started. All good things start with a layout. Click on the palette to the left and drag any layout onto the canvas. To stack content vertically, choose column. To arrange it side by side, choose row. You can even combine row and column layouts by nesting them inside each other. Nesting layouts allows you to achieve some of the more advanced options that you'll see in the templates. Let's take a look at a card with an image, text, and a button. I want the image to be to the left of the text and button, and I want to be able to stack the text and button on top of one another. First, I'll add my card and set the layout direction to row, which tells Candu that I want my elements to be laid out horizontally. Next, I'll set my content alignment to the left justified. Now, I'll drop in my image. You have the option of uploading or linking to an image. In this case, I'll upload. Now, I'll add my text. H3 seems right. Let's call it like it is, Maine Coon Cat. I'll add a description. Fascinating. And last but not least, let's drop in that button. Customize it real quick. Great. Now my picture, text, and button are all next to one another, which isn't quite what I want. Instead, I need to drag in a second layout and set it to column, so that any element I add will stack on top of one another. Now I can put in my text, description, and button, and they'll line up vertically next to my picture. And that looks just about right. Add my button. Voila. You can also play with alignment. Here, I'm going to center some text and create a bit of space between each element. When I change the content direction, the alignment options below change too. If I have the content direction set to row, and there are two elements, say an image and some text, I can use the alignment options for all the usual suspects, left, right, and center, and I can put more or less space between them. Similarly, with the vertical options, I can have these align at the top, bottom, or center. Baseline alignment ensures that the bottom of the text will align with the bottom of my image. Stretch alignment is a handy option to help you make layouts the same size horizontally or vertically. This is especially useful if you're creating rows or columns of similarly sized cards. If you click into an individual component, like this image, you'll also notice the section below, labeled Element Alignment. This is like a super switch. If you set the alignment here, it will take precedence over any parent components. Practically, imagine you have a document where your text is left aligned, but you want the title to be centered. You can use the element alignment to center just the H1. At Candu, we shy away from using element alignment because it's easier to set the alignment of the parent container, but sometimes you have to break the mold. You can also change the relative size of nested objects with the base size. You can set a fixed number of pixels or a percentage of the total available space. For example, if I had a column layout, both columns are set to a base size of 0%, with the grow if possible condition on. But if I want one big column and one skinny column, I can specify a 70-30 ratio. If I'm using a lot of images, I may want to set a fixed width instead, which I can do using pixels rather than percentages. But be careful. This container will still grow large enough to fit the content inside of it, so you want to make sure you don't add an image that's too big. These cats are looking well placed. I'm going to play around with the sizing right now. And I think it looks perfect. Perfect? Sorry. Finally, you can tell elements if they should grow or shrink to fill empty space. For instance, if I have a card within this layout and tell it to grow if possible, it will fill the full width of the layout. Setting a base size is like setting the minimum size for the component. You can set it to shrink, but it will never go below the base size you've set. Next, let's check out the margin and padding controls. Use margin when you want to add space around an object, like a force field pushing out, and use padding to add space within an object to pull elements toward the center. See how this image and button are a little bit cramped? I'll add some margin to the bottom of the image to add a little breathing room. I can try typing in different numbers to get a sense for scale, or I can use the arrow keys to fine-tune the spacing until it looks perfect. If I'm working with multiple objects, I can hold down Shift and select them all before adjusting the margin and padding. Now looking at this card, I want it to have more space around the edges, so I can add some padding and my content will push in. Margin pushes the components apart, padding pushes the edges away. Now it's time to create my content. First, I'll add text and media. Typing some text, intro to Candu. I'm going to add a paragraph below. The style guide takes care of fonts during installation, but you can still format text and add links with the inline menu. Add my link. By default, links will open in a new tab. I can also choose my text type and basic alignment options. Let's try an H3, even an H4. Centered, right aligned, left aligned. If you want to make a list, just type the number 1 or an asterisk at the beginning of the line. Making a list, checking it twice. Now, let's make our content more visually appealing by adding images, icons, GIFs, or even a video. First, drag an image from the media section of the palette. How you insert the image depends on where it's stored. You can get it from the upload image box, or use a link. We love drag and drop here at Candu, so we highly recommend just dragging in an image. You can also add GIFs this way. Perfect. And here is my cat. It's a good looking cat. You can also use the media library. Every image that you upload will be stored in the media library automatically. Finally, you can use a link. To resize your image, use the toolbox to set the pixels or take up a percentage of the screen. Your users will have different size screens, so it can be helpful to adjust the percentage size option if you want the image to always take up the same relative size of the screen, say 20%. Pixels are fixed. By default, the aspect ratio of media is locked, but if you want to stretch something, just click the lock icon. In the next step, I'm going to use buttons and cards to make my content more interactive. First, let's clean up what we've got. Now, let's add some cards. You can find these under Layout in your palette. I'll add my text to each. Start with maybe header 3. There we go. Perfect. Cards are really useful if you're trying to help the user immediately see visually a couple of key resources. You'll see a bunch of them in the dashboard. We use them all the time. So my getting started card. I'll also have my installation card for maybe a more technical audience. And for my last key resource, I'll do support. All right, here let me add the button. Here I'll make my static card an action card by adding a link. This also works for buttons. You can add links from the object itself or in the Interactions tab on the right. You'll see the icon at the bottom of this card. Is how you set up your link. In addition to helping a user navigate, you can set up your actions to fire an email or launch a click-through guide. It helps to add an interaction label when you're setting up actions. This will allow you to find this event in your analytics. You'll thank yourself later. As you can see in the Interactions tab, this has all the same information, but it gives you a couple extra options. Remember how we added padding to our button earlier? You also have the option to increase its size with controls in the Content tab. And you can update the colors. Right now, Candu's brand colors are showing, but like fonts, these colors are set up using your style guide, and you can change them under settings. Finally, I'll drop in an alert block to create a reminder, and I can toggle the colors and the alignment. Like with buttons, you'll set up your styles in the style guide, so you're not hunting down the hex code every time. If you're interested in mixing some dynamic content, like a customer's logo, with some universal content, like a link to a help center, embeds will be your best friends. Embedded components have many applications and can save you a lot of time. You can embed both tutorials and portals, which serve different purposes. First, let's examine why you might want to embed a tutorial. If you want to reuse bits of content in multiple places, say a card with your contact details, you can create a single tutorial and embed it. Then, if you ever need to update your headshot, you can do that in one place. Let's say you've created a beautiful welcome page for all your users, but you want to add a custom welcome message with your favorite customer's logo. To do this, you can create a new customer welcome portal and embed it. And then you can swap out the logo depending on which user segment is looking at your page. Let's pull this all together. Here, we're looking at the welcome screen we just created, but I want to add some personal details for my new customer, Huli. We want to welcome them, share our contact details, and show off our latest feature releases. First, I want to share my contact information, so I'll embed a contact card tutorial. I can preview it now, and if I want to edit it, I can click in and open it in a new tab. If I want to add a new headshot, I can do that here, and it will update everywhere. This is a very large headshot. I think it looks great. Adding in some important information for Huli. I want them to remember me. We'll keep Claire as she is. She's doing great. As you can see, I've edited it in one tutorial, and now we can look at the embedded version in the original. Similarly, I can embed my release notes, and then every month we can update them in one place, and that will flow through to any of our custom dashboards. Now when they log in, they'll see all the useful base content, and they'll also feel like the VIPs that they are. Now that we're familiar with the core concepts, I'm going to spend a little bit of time building out this custom dashboard. I'll start with my release notes. It's actually really helpful to have these built in Candu because I can just publish them across my help center and our dashboard. Also, in many cases, users won't actually read our release notes if they're buried under the help center. So I want to make sure that I flag the most important releases right when they first log in. Great. If I come back to our custom dashboard, I can now just embed this content directly. There's my embed. Perfect. When I open it in a new tab, I'll be able to see here are the different customers with their special logos. Here's Huli, making sure their logo looks perfect. I'll hit publish. And great. Now I have a custom dashboard with some personalized content. Finally, let's check out how Candu lets you use keyboard shortcuts, my favorite topic. You can use the arrow keys to navigate around elements. When you have a component selected, you can delete it with the delete key. If you've grabbed a parent node, all the children will be deleted as well. You can also copy any element, which will copy everything inside of it. Once you've copied it, you can paste it within this tutorial, like I just did. And you can even jump to a different tutorial and paste your content in there. This is really handy if you're making a lot of tutorials at once that have pretty similar content. Use the Shift key to select multiple elements. This can be really helpful when setting alignment or making all of your elements the same type. I want to nest these three bullets, so I'm going to move the margin over. Perfect. And lastly, undo. Candu is all about experimenting with content. And when something doesn't work, you can just undo it. I think you're ready. Browse our ready to go templates for inspiration or start building on your own. Candu. Now you can.